Hi, welcome to episode 513 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Blue Sky. I also blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarns and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, March 17th. It is a lovely day here, and we're going to experience 12 kinds of weather this week, as we did this weekend. So it is just a regular old day in the Midwest. I hope that you are doing well. Here in the Midwest, here in the US, we sort of celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I don't actually. I'm not Irish, but it is St. Patrick's Day, so there's lots of green, and the weekend was quite, well, not for us, but everyone was out celebrating over the weekend. But other than that, it's just kind of a normal day for us here in just outside at Kansas City. I hope that you are doing well. I had a pretty good weekend. I got out when the weather was nice and stayed in when the weather was bad, and all of that occurred kind of around the same time a little bit. So Friday, it was about 80 degrees, and I went out and I picked up some new materials for another chicken, and I had a great day. And then Friday night, the temperature kind of, was it Friday night that it dropped? No, it was Saturday night that it dropped. Friday it was 80, Saturday it was 50. It got colder as the day went on because it was completely gray. By the time we went to bed, it was slightly below freezing. We had some kind of sleet, hail, snow, something. And then yesterday it was back up in the 50s. And then supposedly we're going to have more ice and snow this week. So I don't know. So that is kind of how it is here in the Midwest sometimes, particularly this time of year. But it's been a little frenetic, so I don't even know what to tell you. Right now the sun is shining, and I think it's like between 50 and 60 out. So I am wearing a light sweater. This is my Waits sweater, which is a pattern by Bristol Ivy, and I knit it in Lammy Toes, which sadly she is no longer dyeing. She quit dyeing a couple of years ago because before she and her family moved overseas to Korea, and actually they've been back for a year or two now, but she hasn't picked up dyeing. But that is what I am wearing today. So I hope that you are doing well. Like I said, I crafted a little bit over the weekend, not as much as I would have liked. I would have been happy to get much more done, but I got some things done, and I do have a few things to share with you. So today's tea, I am drinking it in my Anna Wright mug. This was a gift from a dear friend. She is a Scottish potter, and it is lovely. It is sheep in all kinds of sweaters. And the tea that I'm drinking today is actually from a tea bag. It is Stash Chai Green. And it smells absolutely delicious. I have a friend who sent me a care package of like 50 bags from chai, and I've been sharing them with some of the packages that have been going out, but I have also been drinking some of them, and this one smells delicious. Their regular chai is also very good. So that is what I am drinking today. And it is mid-afternoon in the Midwest, and I am coming to you for a short bit, and then I will finish out the day. So, I have a finished object. Technically, I have two almost. I'll show you. One is knitting, one is spinning, and then I have some projects in progress that I brought to show you, and I'll show you my next spin. So that's what we've got this episode. No quilting, no embroidery, just spinning and knitting, kind of back to old school, how the podcast used to be. So the first thing I have finished is I finished another textured stripy hat. This is a pattern by Sarah Shira of Imagined Landscapes. I wanted to say Imagineering. No, that's Disneyland. Imagination. No. Imagine Landscapes. Sarah Shira. I affectionately call her the Gnome Lady. She is the one who wrote the pattern for my friend and podcast host Norman, and also quite a few of the delightful gnomes that are available on Ravelry. There are a few other people who make gnomes, but she is kind of the Gnome Lady. Anyway, she had this pattern that I've talked about this before because I've made one other a few episodes ago. This is a pattern that technically is written for fingering weight, but I went ahead and did the smallest size and applied it to worsted weight, and I used all of my scraps and lots of little bits that are gone now and never to be seen again. And this was almost all blues, but a little bit of gray, and I'm really pleased with it. It is a nice kind of oversized, slightly slouchy beanie, and this will be for a donation. I have been trying to work on bits and pieces in my stash where I just have just little bits of scraps, just enough for a few rows, or half a ball, which I can work in kind of throughout the hat. And so I have been working on that, and I am pleased to have a second hat done. I sort of declared March and April my charity months, and so I have 2 hats done. My hope is I'll get some more done before then. So that is my finished object. It still needs to be washed and blocked, but that it is. It's just kind of a simple 4-row stripe pattern, and then some textured stitches with some pearls, and you just kind of change every few rows, and the only thing that's annoying about it at all is just having to weave in all the ends, but it does delight me to finish off little bits and bobs from my stash that were not going to be good in anything else. So yeah. So that is that. I have also been working on my grid gambit cowl. This is a pattern by Samantha Guerin, and I think I've done a couple more repeats since we talked last. It's almost time for me to think about doing something different. I am knitting this in my own hand spun and then some Madeline Tosh Pashmina in the colorway Dust Weaver, and Pashmina is 75% merino wool, 15% silk, 10% cashmere. The pattern calls to be knit in DK weight yarn, and I am knitting mine in, well, so Pashmina is considered sport weight, and my hand spun is probably a cross between sport weight and fingering. And so I am working it in, this is the Dust Weaver colorway, and then this is Two Waters Farm. It is the colorway Marin's Pencils, which is kind of neon rainbow, and so I have been working on the cowl. The Grid Gambit cowl is knit in one piece on the bias, side to side, and then seamed up the back, and so I am close to the inflection point, I believe, and this is where I am. So we went from purple to pink and orange and yellow to green and blue and back to purple, and then I'm kind of going back to green, and I can't remember which way this whole thing is going to flow, so I don't know what other colors are going to come out, but I am just going to keep working it. I did make a modification to the pattern in that I knit 2 extra pattern repeats on chart 1. I am still waiting because I have poor spatial recognition, poor spatial imagination, visualization. I don't understand how the 2 extra repeats that I added to the front of the shawl are going to actually affect the end of the shawl. Because the shawl is knit on the bias, so I'm kind of winging it. Do as I say, not as I do. I'm kind of winging it through this pattern. The reason that I modified it is because my yarn is slightly thinner weight than the pattern calls for, and because I'm using a slightly smaller needle than the pattern calls for. My gauge is a little bit smaller, and I wanted to be sure that I still came out roughly the same size on the pattern. I haven't checked the schematics, but I think I'm going to be kind of okay on there. Anyway, so this is where I'm at, and the way this works is it's going to be kind of bandana style, so I am working down towards a point, and then I will kind of finish up the other side. I don't want to give any of the magic away. You can buy the pattern. It is well written. It is lovely. Any problems that I run into from here on out are totally going to be my own fault because I decided to knit not the number of repeats written, but that is what I'm working on, and here it is in all its glory. I enjoy knitting repeat after repeat to see what the next color is going to be, so that has been kind of fun, and it's very funny because one of you commented on my last podcast, so are you enjoying the process of knitting more than the product? And I have to say for this one, actually, maybe I am, because I am really, really enjoying just playing with it and seeing how the colors come out. I just saw something that I thought might be wrong, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a loose stitch. Where was I seeing it? I can't even remember now. Anyway, I am very pleased with how this is working up, and will continue to work on this for as long as it takes to get where I'm happy with it. but I'm having trouble visualizing how the other side is going to work as I get to the final charts that finish out the shape. So that was the problem. That was why I was saying I have poor spatial recognition, visualization, something. Like I can't see how this is going to come together and how I should either decrease more or increase more, or exactly what I need to do at the end of the pattern. I was sure I was going to have to do like mirror decreases, but now I'm not so sure because I'm working on the bias. So yeah, I don't know. So that's what I'm doing. I'm messing around, and it may come out a little bit wrong because it also occurs to me that part of what could happen is that I could accidentally make this asymmetrical based on the what I'm doing, but I will just have to live with those consequences myself. So that is what I've got going on here, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And we'll see where that goes. So the other work in progress that I brought to show you, because it had been a few weeks, I thought I would bring this one just to show you where I'm at. It kind of looks the same as it did before, it's just longer, is I am working on a blanket for my niece and her husband. What happened was we got invited to their wedding rather quickly, and we kind of knew it was coming, but then they let us know just a couple of weeks before the wedding, and so I didn't have enough time to, they had been engaged and we knew they were planning it, but we didn't know exactly when. They let us know a few weeks in advance. We went to the wedding, it was lovely, but I didn't have time to make them a blanket, which is typically what I do make people for their weddings if I'm close to them. So I decided, I had this great idea, I was going to make the blanket for their first anniversary. I ordered the yarn in the colors of in their wedding colors, and I got to work, and then I got tendonitis last year and didn't knit for the better part of several months. And even when I did go back to knitting, I didn't want to pick up a blanket because a blanket can be very heavy on the needle. And so I completely missed their first anniversary. At this point, I am hoping to make their second anniversary, which is in October of this year. So the blanket that I am knitting is, it is just called Mosaic Blanket. It is a pattern from Pearl Soho, and it is a free pattern on their website. It is available in a variety of sizes. I'm pretty sure I went with none of those sizes. I just ordered yarn and then cast on the number that I thought I wanted. And I'm not sure, excuse me, I'm not sure that I guessed right, but we are just going to go with it because I am between a third and a halfway through my yarn, and so we are just going to keep going. So this is the blanket. I am knitting the yarn in Barocco Comfort, and I'm knitting it in two colorways. Barocco Comfort is 100% non-natural yarn. I think it is, let's see, I've got it right here. It is 50% superfine nylon and 50% superfine acrylic. That is because they have two rescue boxers, and I know that the dogs will be all over these blankets, and so I wanted to be sure that they were washable and easily cared for and wouldn't snag easily, and so I decided to just go with acrylic to make it easy for them. So the two colors that I am using are beetroot and licorice. So obviously beetroot is the red and licorice is the black. And the one interesting thing that I didn't know about this pattern is that it uses slightly more of the main color than it does of the contrast color. And so while I have ordered equal amounts, I have a feeling that I will not quite finish equal amounts, but that is fine. So this is the blanket, and it is starting to get decently long. So this is where I am at. So it is a lovely mosaic pattern. Mosaic knitting is also known as slip stitch knitting. It is one of the easiest ways to do color work other than stripes, because you are only knitting with one color at a time. And so you are knitting with one color and you are slipping the other color. So for instance, on this previous row, I knit with the black, the licorice, and I slipped the red, which is the beetroot. And then on the next row, I will work with the beetroot and slip some items from the black. And it just creates this amazing mosaic pattern. This blanket is, I'm not quite on autopilot because I still do need to look at the chart rows sort of as I start, but basically it's one row all the way across the chart, and then on the way back, excuse me, you knit the knits and slip, or sorry, you knit all the stitches except for the ones you're slipping. So it's pretty easy, and I have been breaking the chart up. The chart is 12 rows? I've been doing it 8 rows at a time. The chart is 24 rows. So I've been doing 8 rows in the evening, and so I am steadily adding to this blanket. It would be lovely if I could finish this blanket in March and April, but I do not, I'm not staking my life on that. I will just continue working on it until it is done, and hopefully well in time for their second anniversary in October. So that is what I'm working on. I will bring it back every so often to show off progress, but the reason I haven't been bringing it every week is because it is fairly repetitive. It looks the same every time I go through the pattern. So I just have not been bringing it back super often, but I thought I would bring it back to show you that I am indeed making progress. So that is it for the knits right now. I finished the hat that I showed you last night and wove in all the ends, so it's time to do another hat. And I decided this time I'm going to do a slightly different pattern. The pattern that I'm going to do is called June Hat, and I cannot remember the designer's name, but I know that it was done as part of a year of hats for Kelburn Woolens when they launched their Germantown yarn. I could see the skein in my head, I could see the logo on the skein, and I knew I had worked with it before, but it's their Germantown yarn. And I have it is basically a stripy hat. They did it in 2 colors. They did it in black and white. And what I am going to do is I'm going to do, my main color is this gray. This is Patton's Classic Wool Worsted. And I am using this, and then I am using leftovers that are kind of reds and blues and purples. Sorry, it's a little hard to see in this bag. Also some oranges. So it's like deep jewel tones and a gray, and I'm going to use the gray as the main color, and then I'm going to kind of color fade through these other ones as the contrast color. So that is what I'm going to do for this one. I'm excited about it, and I'll be starting it this week and hopefully have something to show you next week. I don't think I'll finish it, but hopefully I'll have something to show you. And my plan is just, let's do a couple hats, let's do some work on the blanket, let's do a little work on my cowl, and we'll see where we get for the next couple months. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of knitting. It's almost time to ask my niece and nephew what they would like for their birthday sweaters, and then I'll be working on those. So that's what will come next, but I want to finish a few things first if I can. So, sip of tea, and then we'll go to spinning, and then I'll let you all go. I sort of could use a nap. I've been getting up for the last week and a half. I've been getting up an hour earlier. Not just with, I'm not talking about the time change. I've been getting up an hour earlier for work and starting my day earlier. And it still hasn't sunk in. It's still kind of killing me. By late afternoon, I'm dragging. So I finished a spin. I'm very excited about this. This one spun up pretty quickly. This is boiled sugar candy, and it is a South African merino. South American merino. It's pretty soft, and it is in kind of yellow and purple colorways, and so I've got bits of lavender and bits of gold and bits of lighter yellow, and then a few bits of like real pale, almost white or very, very, very pale yellow. So that one is done. My guess is it will be around 300 yards of kind of a sport to DK weight. This one spun up a little thicker, and I just need to wash it and then photograph it, and it will go up in the shop. So if this is something that looks good to you, it also reminds me of pansies. The purple and yellow always remind me of pansies. So flowers and spring, and so that means that I have selected my next spin. Sorry, this was by Hello Yarn. And I've selected my next spin, and this one is a spin by, I just need to find the card. Oop, sorry. I'm very sorry about that. I have a really technical system where the phone is propped up on a thing against my computer monitor. So I am spinning fiber that is created by LCB, and is that what it is? Yeah, created by LCB. And this one is called Candy Mountain. It is a Tarhi 23 micron wool. So it's like a subset of merino. It's very soft, and it is called Candy Mountain, and it is great colors. It is just rainbow, and I am very excited about this and can't wait. So it's like rainbow and then navy, and I'm just really, really excited to spin this one. So that is what I'm going to start this week. I don't know how I'm going to spin it yet. I have to take the braid apart and see how it was put together, how it was dyed, because obviously here it's basically like a gradient, but I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it that way or what exactly I'm going to do. I'm probably going to make it all bar Barbara Poley, because that is one of my favorite things to do. So that is what I'm going to work on in the next week or two, and I will be sharing that with you as I can. But again, that is Candy Mountain created by LZB, and this one is marked as a repeatable colorway, so I'm guessing she could repeat it again if it's something that you would want. So this one will also go up in my shop whenever I finish it. So I think that's about it for me. I'm hoping maybe this week will be a little more crafty than the last. I am working on quilting that quilt, although I have been fighting with my machine a little bit, which is part of the reason that I have not been as crafty as I would like to be. And I have a new chicken this week that is mostly white, so it's not very exciting for me to show you. But that is what I'm working on in the studio. I hope that you guys are doing well and that you are finding some crafty inspiration. And for those of you in the US, I hope that you are safe from the storms. The weather has been crazy lately, and I hope that you're keeping well. So I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.